Can you just enter, Preston? Well, just a few days after that absolute heartbreaker at Fratton Park, we're at it again. Argyle in action in the Papa John's Trophy tonight. Will we see the same sort of action we did on Saturday? Some old emotional roller coaster, wasn't it, on Saturday? Good evening. Welcome along to Argyle TV. I'm Charlie Price, and we're building up to this evening's Papa John's Trophy game away against Swindon Town at the county ground. Second game of the campaign, and after a 1-1 draw at home park against Bristol Rovers in the first time, with that penalty shootout win, 2 points on the board for Argyle. A win potentially could see them, or could see us, get through the group stages for the very first time since it was introduced 6 seasons ago. Coming up over the next 45 minutes or so, we'll be getting all of the team news from the county ground. We'll be hearing from Mark Hughes and also from Sam Cosgrove, who could well be in line for his first start since arriving on loan from Birmingham City. We'll also be paying a little bit of a tribute to Dave Smith. We'll be hearing from Gary Nelson. Dave Smith obviously passed away a week ago, and everyone at the club was saddened to hear that the great man, the cider man, led us to promotion in 1986, of course. And we'll be hearing a tribute from Gary Nelson as a little prelude to a podcast that will come out tomorrow afternoon. And helping me through all of that this evening is the former Argyle women's captain, Katie Miller, who is with us now. And Katie, it's a beautiful afternoon. It's a slightly early kickoff than normal. It's the Papa John's Trophy. How are you feeling ahead of it?
Yeah, I think it's something to look forward to, isn't it? It's another game, like you say. It's a lovely evening. So hopefully another good performance from the boys. I'm sure there'll be a few changes tonight, but we'll get to see, I would imagine, some of the youngsters and some of the players that potentially need a few minutes to get up to full speed. So yeah, hoping for another good performance just to keep that momentum going.
Could you believe it on Saturday? It's the third time in a row at Fratton Park we've conceded in injury time. It was some game.
Yeah, it was kind of written in the stars, I think, wasn't it, that was going to happen. It was a good game between two good sides who are hopefully going to be up there at the end of the season, fighting up the top of the table. So unfortunate that we obviously couldn't hold on, and ideally we'd have liked the 3 points going into injury time. But I think you know what you expect when you go to places like Fratton Park. So I think maybe a fair result in the end.
We will be reminding ourselves of that result and performance in just a moment. We'll be watching the highlights through. We'll also be getting team news in just a moment as well, finding out who does start tonight from both sides. And also, as always, we want you to get in touch with us. You can tweet us at Argyle. You can find us on Facebook with the same name, or you can just leave a message in the YouTube comments below this video. But let's remind ourselves again, shall we, of just exactly what happened on Saturday when the Greens travelled to Portsmouth. Home side have done really well to get out of a tricky situation. Now Ogilvie has it, Pack into the feet of Bishop, and it's a bit of space. It's opened up down the left-hand side. Here's Robertson, the captain, approaching the edge of the penalty area. He has Koroma on the outside of him, just running slowly towards the middle of that 18-yard box. He's forced to play it back to Pack. That's a nice ball out to the right-hand side. Dale looks up, stabs it in towards Bishop, whose header goes over the top of Cooper's goal. Mumba's caught on it, trying to dribble out at the back. Bishop has it, Koroma makes a run through the middle. Here is Koroma, back to Scarlett. It's a great save by Michael Cooper. A massive save from the Argyle keeper, who then drops on the rebound. Mumba continues his run. Whittaker looking to use his pace to get away from Ogilvie, and he's done just that. Low ball into the middle. Azaz is there. Can he get a shot away? Oh, he's just crowded out. Edwards with the strike. Azaz taps it in. But the flag is up on the near side. Oh, wow. Morel gets his first touch, and Portsmouth will come again down the left-hand side. Koroma gets away from Edwards. Inside the box, oh, what a goal! Josh Koroma has absolutely smashed it past Michael Cooper, and Portsmouth take the lead 5 minutes before the break. Azaz on the right-hand side. Can he get a cross in? Cuts onto his left foot, edge of the box. Low ball across. Butcher hits it goalwards, what a save! Brilliant save from Griffiths, down to his right, and he knocks it behind for a corner. Lonvik, lots of space on the right, crosses the halfway line. Mumba is in behind on the right hand side. It's a magnificent pass to find him into the box. Low ball into the middle, flick goalwards and in! And Argyle have their equaliser. It's an own goal from Sean Raggett. Barley Mumba wheels away in celebration because they've got that equaliser. It's 1-1.
Yeah, Argyle look causing them problems now when they get the ball in the box. They're making really good forward passes, picking balls up in good areas.
Whittaker into Ennis, in the penalty area, Ennis, oh, he scored! And they've turned this game around again, Plymouth Argyle. It's a beautiful right-footed finish from Niall Ennis. And from 1-0 down, the Greens are now in front. Mumba will run away with it. The counter-attack is on for Argyle if they get this right. Cosgrove finds Whittaker. Out comes the keeper. Whittaker's round him into the penalty area. Can he finish it off? No! It's cleared off the line from Ogilvie. No, they've taken it short. It's an opportunity on the right-hand side. In it comes, and it's a goal for Portsmouth. They've snatched it late again. Can you believe it? It's Rico Hackett who runs away. Well, I don't think many could believe it, but having said that, 3 times the last time we visited Fratton Park, it has happened. But nevertheless, it was a stunning game of football. It was another match unbeaten, and of course, the Greens still in that top half of the table, right up there, third position in the league. So going strongly. Now, how many of that size are going to be playing tonight? That is the question. Well, let's find out. Here is the starting lineup for this evening's game against Swindon, and you'll see there are wholesale changes. 10 in total for Argyle. The only survivor from Saturday's victory is Jordan Houghton in the middle of midfield. Brandon Purcell comes back in after his loan spell at Parkway. Will Jenkins-Davies and Oscar Halls and Jack Endicott, they all get a start, as does Sam Cosgrove as well. Katie Middleton looking at that side. There are lots of changes, but there are also big names in there too. James Wilson, Danny Mayer, Adam Randall, Brendan Galloway. It's still pretty strong, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, we alluded to it a little bit at the beginning there, that it'll give those players potentially without a bit of match sharpness to get in there and get 90 minutes under their belt. And like I say, it's a good side with a lot of experience mixed with a bit of youth to come in and show what they can do. And I'm sure everyone's looking forward to seeing Sam Cosgrove from the start of the game and to see what he can do up there.
Yeah, I think that's something that people are going to be interested in, isn't it? Finding out what Sam Cosgrove can do from the start. It's a great opportunity for him today. And looking at that, you've got supply lines from the likes of Danny Mayer and Adam Randall and Jordan Helton from midfield. He'll be desperate, won't he, to do something this evening?
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for him to show what he's about in terms of being that focal point and being able to hold the ball up and getting the likes of, like I said, Danny Mayer and Adam Randall on the ball slightly higher up in those little pockets of space. So, you want him to be that target man and to be able to hold it up and allow other players to join in. And, we've seen a bit of what he's about. He obviously came on and worked wonders and when he scored a couple of late goals to win against Derby. So exciting opportunity for him to get out there and show us what he's all about.
Well, we'll be hearing from Sam very, very shortly. Let's have a quick look at the Swindon side first, though, as well. We've seen lots of changes from Stephen Schumacher. Scott Lindsay has done something similar. He's opted for 7 changes, most notably, though, their goalkeeper, who was named in the Team of the Week for League Two on the weekend. Bryn starts in goal. They've also got their striker Sade starting as well, but a lot of changes in there. Good to see Ian Dolo back, who's back from injury, slotting in at left back. Like Argyle, lots of changes. This one potentially, Katie, looks slightly younger, slightly less experienced, and I wonder whether losing their first game against Crystal Palace has under 21s has something to do with that.
Yeah, I think it's this competition is sometimes frowned upon a little bit as to how much teams get out of it. I think for Swindon tonight, it's a chance to go up against an opposition who are a league higher. Yes, they've made changes, but at the same time, they want to go out and prove themselves and show what they can do against a decent side in Argyle. So an opportunity for their players, I'm sure, who'll want to come in and prove a point. But like I say, it's whether they kind of think, well, having lost the first game, have they got much to play for still? So it'd be interesting to see how things go.
Obviously, notable absences on that. Their top scorer, Wakeling, not in the squad at all. Johnny Williams, central midfielders, away with the Welsh squad, and the 2 former Argyle players, well, 1 current Argyle player, 1 former Argyle player. Luke Jeffcott, of course, can't play because he's on loan from the Pilgrims, and Oscar Massey is currently out on loan in the National League South. So neither of them involved, but interesting to see the 2 lineups. Want to have your say, hear your thoughts on it as well, please, at Argyle on Twitter, or you can drop us a comment on the YouTube video just below on what you think of that first team. Lots of people on Twitter, Katie, very happy that Danny May is back in the side, of course. Missed Saturday's game, came off ill a week ago against Oxford here. And also people happy with Will Jenkins-Davis. I don't know whether you've seen much of him at all, but he's an exciting prospect, isn't he?
Yeah, I haven't seen him play much yet, so it'll be good to see him get a few minutes again this evening. But like you say, I think fans will be pleased to have Danny Mayer back in the side. He's an important player for Argyle, and missed him on Saturday against Portsmouth. So definitely good to get him back in and again, just get some minutes under his belt and get that sharpness back before the weekend.
Absolutely. Right, let's hear from Mark Hughes, the Argyle assistant manager, shall we? He sat down with me yesterday to discuss this evening's match. Before we start looking ahead to Tuesday, just a quick look back, Hughesy, on a mental game on Saturday. How do you kind of assess that and pick the bones out of what happened on Saturday?
That was a great game. I think it was a great advert for League One football. Obviously, we've just been speaking off camera in terms of the manner and lateness of conceding a goal later on, it always feels like a defeat. But if you look back, it's to go there and say come back again, and you look at the Derby game where we done it to Derby late on and got 3 points, and vice versa. But no, if you look back, people probably say a draw was a fair result, but I just thought it was a great game from start to finish. Both teams going at it, and two honest teams, and a good two honest set of supporters as well. So no, really enjoyed it. You can see the top teams, like when you play them, it's a real ding dong, and no, I love them being involved in them games, and we're in a good place at the minute in terms of, yeah, if they're the benchmark, we respect that, but I think we're on the right track, and we're doing really well.
Yeah, I suppose it's further proof, isn't it, that we can absolutely mix it with those teams at the top of the table.
Yeah. Well, we spoke about after the Derby game that look, we can come here and win and put on a performance, and then Portsmouth's exactly the same. And said to the lads after the game, just shows you how far we've come. We're disappointed to come to the top of the league and only get a point, and just bottle that feeling up and spur us on to drive us on into the season.
Looking ahead now, though, we've got a big game in the league coming up on the weekend, but we've got this Papa John's game against Swindon coming up on Tuesday. What are your thoughts ahead of that? Yeah,
a bit same as the other round. It's great. I love the fact that you get to play youngsters, and you see youngsters playing at our level, and then you get lads who need the minutes. And look, the lads who need the minutes, they've been superb. I think, again, we spoke in the meeting the other day, all the subs that have come on, that's the last 4 league games, they've all scored. So just shows you people are not coming on gutted, they're coming on to make an impact, and that's what we want to create around here. So it's possibly lads to get minutes under the belt, and probably a really good time really as well to get minutes under the belt, because October coming up, I think there's like 8 games in October, which is going to be massive for us. So I think it's a good game. Like I say, it's better than training, and you see it in the last round against Bristol Rovers. It was a really good competitive game, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, how do you plan for this as well? Because Swindon, they lost their first game, they made quite a few changes for it. How do you see what they're going to be doing? How they're going to?
Yeah, it's quite difficult to plan. Obviously, a lot of managers change personnel, but they always stick to philosophy. And to be fair to Swindon, we've watched them. They do like to keep the ball possession based, pretty much the way Swindon's DNA is, and it won't be easy. Be a tough game, but say we'll back any 11 or the lads who are coming on to go on and do the club proud, which everyone's been doing it at this moment in time. So no, look forward to it. Look, like I said, love seeing the youngsters play, so hopefully we can get a couple in there and a couple of experienced lads getting a few minutes too.
Mark Hughes talking there to me yesterday ahead of today's game. And Katie, interesting hearing him talk about the impact players are having off the bench as well. Last 4 games, we've seen substitutes come on and score, change matches. Today, a lot of them are starting. Is there a difference actually as a player when you come on to make an impact compared to starting a game?
I think when you come on that you've got to try and do something to either change the game or to prove why potentially you should have had a starting shirt in the first place. So, but at the same time, it's sometimes hard to get up with the game pace and stuff when you come on as a sub. So these players today will certainly be looking to do the business from the start. And I think that kind of shows that the development of the squad as a whole, I think in previous seasons, we potentially have had a fairly good starting 11, but then when you get to the bench, you start to lose some of that quality. Whereas this season, things seem to be different, and we've brought in players who can make a difference. And I think that's kind of, I would say, one of the really big positives so far this season is the amount of players that are happy to do that kind of squad role and come on and make a difference when they do get their chance on the pitch.
Yeah, and I suppose this competition is much maligned. A lot of supporters aren't in favour of it for whatever, various different reasons, and that's absolutely fine. But one thing that struck me about the coaching staff and actually the players ahead of today, and it was the same against Bristol Rovers, is the ability to actually play different players in a competitive game. Now, it might not be against, a first choice opposition, but it's Mark, you said it there. It's better than training.
Yeah, 100%. And they're professional footballers because they want to play football matches, not just train all the time. So, like I say, it gives them that opportunity tonight to pull on the shirt and to prove why they're here and that they're good enough to play at this level. Albeit, yes, this might be a minor cup competition, but it still gives them that opportunity to be out there and in front of a crowd and playing and trying to prove, like I said, why they're here. And like I say, everyone wants to play football. That's why they're here. So they'll definitely be thriving off that opportunity tonight, I'm sure.
Well, let's hope so. Let's see how they get on. Reminder that the full game is available live for you on Argyle TV. Kickoff is at 7 o'clock. If you want to watch it, head over to our website, buy your match pass. You can find it on the Argyle TV tab. Just click on the streaming options and you'll be able to see how you can buy it there. Just £10. You'll be able to watch the entire game throughout. 7 o'clock kickoff, as I said, slightly different time to normal. But coming up next, we'll be hearing from Sam Cosgrove ahead of his first start for Argyle. So stay tuned for that.
Bad ball in, good goal, Still to progress into the second division.
Right, let's hear from our newest recruit then, Sam Cosgrove. Obviously, everybody knows what sort of an impact he made at Derby just a couple of weekends ago, but he's in from the start today. How has he assessed his first few weeks at Home Park? Sam, I know we're looking forward to a game tomorrow against Swindon in the Papa John's Trophy, but I want to transport you back a couple of weeks to your debut, and you've had a couple of weeks to kind of reflect on it, look back on it. No doubt watch it quite a few times. If I were you, I would have. How do you look back on it now? How do you see it? Pretty dreamy.
I mean, obviously dream is the first thing that comes to mind. It couldn't have gone much better in terms of debut. The boys did really well throughout the game and probably found ourselves unlucky to be behind. But we stuck to the guns and got a bit of fortune here and there. But what a result it was and what a feeling.
Now you've had a taste of football here at Home Park as well, and obviously another humdinger up at Portsmouth on the weekend. How's it been the 3 or 4 weeks you've been in?
Fantastic. I'm really enjoying it here. The environment and the culture around the club is top drawer, and that comes all the way from the top, from the manager down to the boys, and then the staff alongside. It's a really homely club, and you get that sense of togetherness here. So for the couple of weeks that I've been here, I've really enjoyed it. So hopefully that can continue. In terms of the football as well, and the way in which you've integrated and been used, is it as you expected? Better? Yeah, I mean, I've not had loads of game time as it is. I think I had 25 minutes at the weekend against Portsmouth, which is probably the most I've had, and it was a bit of a frantic game to say the least. Coming on 1-0 down and then going up 2-1, it probably wasn't a fair reflection of how we like to play and how most of the games are going to go. But I think for me, I'm still getting used to the style of football, the way that we play. But I definitely see myself fitting in and hopefully being a positive part of it. We've seen also in recent weeks the likes of yourself, Morgan, Niall, the substitutes making a huge impact on matches, and I think people sometimes forget about how much of a squad game football is, and that there are 11 players starting it, but if it's not working or for whatever reason you have to change it, we seem to have a knack at the moment of being able to do that. Yeah, definitely, and it was one of the first things that when I spoke with Ryan Hardy about it, he says that last year there was a lot of rotation and the manager does like to chop and change and make changes, but of course you want to be starting games and playing as much football as possible, but as you said, at the moment there seems to be making a real big impact off the bench, and you know, if that's my job for the time being, or Niall's job at the moment, or Morgs, as you mentioned, and we're making those impacts, then, you know, all the best. We're happy with that.
As a player, when you know that the manager does like to tweak things every now and again, does it make you hungrier when you do get your chance, maybe if you're not starting, to make a bit of an impression, to say, well, I should be the next one in there? Yeah,
of course. And, you know, I think that it's definitely not negative, because, you know, the manager, it's the way that he works, and there's no secret about it. He's always talking with you, always saying that you'll get your chance, you'll get your opportunity. So it's actually quite refreshing to see, because it's just people going out there to do as well as they can for the sake of the football club, you know, and it's a really refreshing thing to see.
Sam Cosgrove, who's making his first start for Argyle this evening. Katie Middleton, former Argyle women's captain, is alongside us for this one this evening, as we are building up to kick-off, which is just over half an hour away. And we were talking, whilst that was playing there, Katie, about how potentially tricky it could be in this current Argyle squad, with just the one forward role that's being played and 3 strikers wanting to play. You heard from Sam there say that the manager's really open with him, and it's quite refreshing that he does kind of say, you're not playing this week, but, you know, this is a reason why, and it's always understandable. And also the players, those forward players, seem to really get on, which might help. But I mean, it must be pretty tricky knowing that if someone's in form, you're probably not going to get in ahead of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what we spoke about before, isn't it? As a footballer, you want to be on the pitch and you want to be playing, and Sam said exactly the same thing in that interview. But I think Schumacher's made it really clear to them that they will get their chances and they will get their opportunities, and essentially it's about working hard in training and showing what they can do, and then when they get those chances, it's can they, you know, grasp that with both hands and keep hold of that shirt. So it's tricky when you know that there are maybe few and far opportunities to maybe start, but I think the camaraderie around the team is great, and you know, everyone's in it for the right reasons, and that's to get results at the end of the day. So you know, Sam said a similar sort of thing. You know, they're all mates, they all want to do well for the club, so that can only bode well for the football club itself.
And it is a bit of a cliche, but you hear football players said a lot, so it must probably be true that if there is competition, and you know, there's a few different players that feel they should be playing, it can only benefit the team. And you just have to look at the stats this year. Every time Niall Ennis has started a game, he's scored on Saturday from the bench. Ryan Hardy's got 4 goals this season. Sam's got 2 already as well. So I suppose it's a win-win if they carry on trying to outdo each other and try and claim that spot.
Yeah, and it always pushes you, doesn't it, to be better. And it's certainly a headache, but a nice headache for Shuey to have. And I think, you know, it does make a difference when there are players who are vying for the same position, because you do have to prove yourself that little bit more, and you want to be the one who's picking up that shirt and starting on a Saturday or Tuesday evening. So yeah, I definitely, as much as it sounds like a cliche, I definitely think it's true that actually, you know, having that competition for places definitely makes for a better side.
You're watching Argyle TV. We are building up to the Greens Papa John's Trophy fixture with Swindon Town tonight, 7 o'clock kickoff. We want you to have your say on what you think ahead of today's game, how you think the game is going to go, and what you think of the team news and who's starting, who's not. You can find us on Twitter at Argyle. Just leave a message underneath this YouTube video. And we'll read out the best ones a little bit later on, as well as we get closer to kickoff. A reminder, of course, that you can watch the game in full on Argyle TV for just £10. All the details on how to buy your stream can be found on our website, pafc.co.uk. Click on the Argyle TV tab, look for those streaming options, and you will find it there. Now, we'll be crossing to the county ground very, very shortly. But before we do, just like to pay a little bit of a tribute to a former Argyle manager, Dave Smith, who passed away a week and a bit ago, a couple of Thursdays ago. He led Argyle to promotion in 1986. He was in charge for 4 years and is fondly remembered as one of the greatest managers that Argyle have ever had. Now, later this week, we'll be putting out a podcast in tribute to the Ciderman, and this is a little snippet from it. It's Gary Nelson, someone who he managed at Southend and then brought to Argyle, talking about his former manager.
David was a forward thinking in my view as a manager, because he knew how to get he was good at PR. He knew how to get the best and get the crowd behind him. Very, very, very involved with the crowd. Used to give his very honest notes in the programme. Used to come on the microphone before the game and explain decisions, and set us some big targets as well. And yeah, it was just a very, very nice vibe down at Plymouth at the time. A great bunch of lads there, really, really as good a team spirit as I've known anywhere. The fans got right behind us and the team. I think we played exciting football. I think we were a very attack-minded team. Some great players, some lads who, were not Plymouth born and bred, but like Hodgie, for example, he'd been through the system at Plymouth and played virtually all of his career at Plymouth. And then Dave added some good experience. He brought in Johnny Matthews, I remember at the time. He brought in some youngsters. Stevie Cooper he brought in. So he had a nice blend of experience and exciting young youth. Darren Robotham coming through as well, through the system. But it was just an amazing experience, really. And Dave embraced every minute of it. As the momentum built, I think the way Dave handled it with the crowd was brilliant.
How do you think, or how would you remember Dave Smith as a man, as a manager?
With great affection, personally, as an enthusiast, a great smile, a temper when he needed to have a temper, but caring, I think, is one of the things. As a footballer, you don't always get that. You can be a bit of a production line. But he cared about his players, he cared about his lads, he cared about what was going on outside of the game, and he was caring. And as I said earlier, I've got a great deal of time for Dave. He was a wordsmith, he was a poet, intelligent, and he always had a little quote to throw at you, which 9 times out of 10 completely threw you. Didn't really understand what it meant. But when you thought about it a little bit more, you knew exactly what it meant. And what a tonic it was for me to have Dave in my life in such a, on a professional basis, but also to call him a friend.
Gary Nelson there talking about his former manager, Dave Smith. And as I mentioned, a full podcast will be coming out tomorrow afternoon on the Siderman. Gary will be joined by the likes of John Uzell, Kevin Hodges, Lee Cooper, all talking about their memories of Dave Smith, their manager. So yeah, tomorrow afternoon, that podcast, the Argyle podcast, a tribute to Dave Smith. You're watching Argyle TV. We are 25 minutes away from kickoff at the County Ground for the Pilgrims' second game at the Papa John's Trophy campaign away at Swindon Town. You can watch the game live wherever you are across the world for just £10. Find out all the details on how to stream it on Argyle TV on our website, pafc.co.uk. Now let's focus on our opponents for the moment. They lost their opening game in the competition 2-0 at home against Crystal Palace under-21s. They're 11th currently in Sky Bet League 2, but are on a pretty decent run. They've won their last 2 in the division, including a 1-0 victory on Saturday away at Doncaster. Here are the best bits from that game. A 1-0 victory there, following up a 3-2 win over Sutton for Swindon Town. As I said, 11th in the division. Quite a few draws for them this year, but they're beginning to hit a little bit of form. And, of course, would love to get one over Argyle, as they did at the same stage of this competition last year. Now, a lot of that side, including their goal scorer, Jake Wakeling, not involved today. But let's have a look through their lineup for you this evening. 7 changes made by their manager, Scott Lindsay. Players to stay in. Sol Bryn, their goalkeeper, who's had a cracking season, continues in between the sticks. Tom Clayton, Scottish centre-back, who's on loan from Liverpool. And then Tyrese Sade as well, the other striker, to stay in the side for this evening's game. As for Argyle, well, Stephen Schumacher's also rung the changes. He's made 10 in total. Just Jordan Houghton staying in the side from the 2-2 draw against Portsmouth on Saturday. Games for Will Jenkins-Davies, Oscar Halls, Jack Endicott, the youngsters coming back in. Brendan Purcell gets his first start as well, having come back from a loan spell at Plymouth Parkway. Lots of firepower on the bench too. Katie Middleton, the former Argyle women's captain, is alongside me and will be for commentary as well this evening. Interesting as well, Katie, defensively here, James Wilson hasn't been able to get past Nigel Longvike in the league side, the first 11 for recent weeks. He's back in captaining the side today. He's just one of a number of pretty experienced players who can help those younger lads through.
Yeah, definitely. And, Wilson was, I guess, more or less a mainstay in the beginning weeks of the season, and is obviously following the red card that Longvike came in and has done well and probably justified keeping his starting position in the league lineup. So Wilson's another player who I wouldn't say needs to prove himself at all, but given this opportunity again to get minutes under his belt, and the likes of Jenkins-Davies and Endicott, who will play potentially in that defensive unit, can certainly learn lots from playing alongside those experienced players tonight. So I'm sure they'll be looking forward to getting out there and sort of learning their trade, I guess, off some of the more seasoned pros.
Let's head across to the county ground now, shall we, and have a chat with Rob McNichol, who, as always, has given up a free bit of time to come and have a chat with us on the pre-match show. Rob, good evening, pleasant evening up in Wiltshire. We've been talking about the team news. Great to see those younger lads, Jenkins-Davies, Endicott, Halls, Purcell, all get a start today. And that's what this competition really is kind of about at the moment, isn't it?
It is, both for us and for other teams as well. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the under-21 teams from Championship or Premier League teams coming into that and giving their young players experience. That's what the whole switch of the system of this competition was for. But yeah, it works for us as well. And there'll be plenty of people that have this down their priority list as far as supporters are concerned for tonight's game. But that we shouldn't take away from, as you mentioned, the likes of Brandon Purcell or Will Jenkins-Davies or Jack Endicott, Oscar Halls, etc. Because it is a big night. Any football that they play at this stage is helping their progression, helping them impress the manager. And also, I think that they can't really lose tonight, because if they play really well, they can impress. And if they play badly, it's something to learn from. Do you know what I mean? Because we've all got to make mistakes at some stage. And I don't see a downside as far as those players are concerned. So, yeah, really looking forward to seeing them in action again.
And we were here, obviously, against Bristol Rovers for the first game last month, and there were standout performances from those younger players, weren't there? Oscar Halls, in particular, on his debut for the first team, up against some pretty seasoned pros in John Marquis and Brian Loft. Jack Endicott's impressed in cup competitions since he's been there as well. And as Katie was kind of alluding to before, it's not just chuck all of them in and see how they do, because that probably wouldn't help. The likes of Stephen Schumacher and Mark Hughes and Nance, they know about just making sure there's the right sort of blend. And we heard from Hughes in the build-up as well, saying he loves seeing these younger players in and amongst the first team and just getting more experience.
It makes total sense when you think about it. Is that you think about most industries, you think about you and I, we broke in, with both print and broadcast journalism, and you learn from those. Pardon?
Me, I'm still breaking in, I think.
Oh, you're still breaking in. but we learned from more experienced people around us, didn't we? You work with them and you're alongside them. You learn from your mistakes, and you continue to do so throughout your career. It doesn't matter what industry you're in; you're always going to learn from people who are more experienced. The weird thing sometimes about football is up until 18, you play with your peers, and then as soon as you're 18, you're playing with other people, and you don't always have that gradual progression. So this is an ideal chance for that kind of thing, because Oscar Halls is going to be playing alongside people like Brendan Galloway and James Wilson, who have played hundreds, maybe even 1,000, I don't know, of games at high levels between the two of them, and all the way through the team, the likes of Jordan Houghton will be able to help Will Jenkins-Davis or whomever else. You want that voice in your ear, encouraging you, critiquing, but in a positive way. And I'm sure that happens all the way through the week as well, and training and whatever. But for tonight in particular, I think that's going to help. And since we're on the topic of younger people, the fact that the game is at 7 o'clock tonight, I'm looking around. It's not a huge crowd here at the County Ground, as you can imagine, but it's notable how many families are here. What percentage of the crowd that are here are families? And the fact that it's an earlier kickoff, I think, is quite nice, because to younger fans, a game is a game. It doesn't really matter if it's a Champions League semi-final or the Papa John's to them. It's a game and a chance to see their, the guys in their red or green shirts, depending on their allegiance. So that shouldn't be forgotten sometimes, and I think it's a good move. I know we've been doing it at 7, and Swindon are doing it as well. I think that's a nice little touch. It's a small thing, but a nice one.
No, very good point, Rob. And there were plenty of people at the Bristol Rovers game as well that said it was the first time that they were bringing their son, daughter to a game, because as you said, tickets were available. They could come enjoy it slightly earlier time, so they're not rushing off to bed late on. Absolutely spot on. Well, Rob, thank you very much as always for joining us on Argyle TV. We'll let you get off to do your usual jobs. You can find everything Rob does this evening on our Twitter page at Argyle. And of course, he'll be doing everything post-match as well, rounding everything up after today's game. And Katie Middleton is still here with me. That's a very good point from Rob, actually. And again, we were talking about, a lot of people don't rate this competition or don't want to be involved in it. It can be a nuisance. But I do know from people that were at the Bristol Rovers game here a month ago that was their first time that they brought their family along, or their son or daughter. And it may well be that it's the same up in Swindon today, that people go along, enjoy it, don't have to go to bed too late, and then become a fan for life.
Yeah, and that's what these sort of games, I guess, are all about, aren't they? Is getting maybe those fans who wouldn't necessarily go to normal league games along to watch the team and fall in love with what they're going to see. And if it means that the kids in the future want to go back and watch more games, then great, because essentially, they're the fans of the future, and this is a good opportunity for them to get to stadiums and watch proper football matches. And like I say, hopefully want to come back and see more of the same.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Katie. We'll let you go and get ready for commentary, and we'll be with you very, very soon. Kickoff is 15 minutes away or so. You can find it all on Argyle TV. Just a few social Twitter comments coming in from you guys. Got to love a team switch, and still an amazing side, though. That has come in. Thanks a lot for that. Plymouth Argyle at 07 has said, I reckon a 3-1 win to the Greens. Nice and positive. And Ross here, picking up on what we were saying earlier on about the competition up front. If we get promotion, no one will care who starts up front. That is absolutely spot on, Ross. We will hope that Sam Cosgrove can get more to his tally this evening. Kickoff, as I said, coming up very, very shortly. Katie and myself will be bringing you through the action. If you are thinking about how to watch the game, you can do it. It costs just £10. You can do it from wherever you live around the world. Just go to our website, pafc.co.uk. Look for the Argyle TV tab, click on the streaming options that are there, and then it is all pretty self-explanatory from there on in. Commentary of Swindon Town against Plymouth Argyle in the Papa John's Trophy is coming up next.